Thank you very much for this introduction. Mr. Chairman, invited guests, all protocol observed. I am very, very, very glad to be part of this wonderful program. Well, Uncle Mike has spoken a lot, and so I'll be very, very, very brief. Now, as he mentioned, sympathy is one of the most unpleasant barriers that exists between persons with disabilities and the able community. What we persons with disability need is empathy. That is to be identified with, to be understood. Give us what we need in order to make ends meet. In other words, teach us how to fish and not continuously give us fish. Most of the time, the situation is not like that. And so, breaking the barriers is an NGO that I'm very happy to be associated with. And we are looking forward to doing more programs together. Mr. Chairman, the government, policymakers, religious groups, civil societies like NGOs, disabled people's organizations, opinion leaders, community leaders have to join in this honorable task. The reason is that 30% of our population is persons with disability. Ghana government has done very well in the eradication of polio. However, the increasing number of other factors or contributors to the disabled population is at an alarming rate. For instance, Accra Metropolitan Assembly's national report issued in 2013 shows that over a period of 10 years, my mic is worrying me. Over a period of 10 years, road traffic accidents claimed a total of 20,503 lives and recorded 63,384 injuries and incapacitations. Ladies and gentlemen, when these injuries and incapacitations become a way of life, they are termed as disabilities. This report is alarming, and this has called for the urgent need to address barriers that exist between persons with disabilities and the able population. Most of these barriers are created by myths, cultural beliefs and practices, and then the society that we live in, just to mention a few. In this forum, I am going to address how individuals, that is you and I, can help remove whatever is preventing persons with disabilities and the able community to live in harmony. Today, I am going to share with you one of my experiences. In other words, I'm going to encourage you to learn and to develop the habit and the culture of identifying with and understanding someone else's feelings or difficulties. That person may or may not be a person with disability. Ladies and gentlemen, before I continue, I want to draw your attention to the fact that barriers around persons with disabilities are so strong and contagious that most of the time, family members are seen in the eyes of persons with disability. Now to my experience. This experience or scenario is about getting employment. A very sensitive area for persons with disabilities. Unlike my colleagues from the Ghana School of Law, I never undertook any internship during my vacations for various reasons that I don't have the time to share. Yet, when I completed school, I wrote numerous, and when I say numerous, I mean numerous application letters to public institutions and then to one law firm. Ladies and gentlemen, my follow-ups on my applications to the public institutions revealed that due to the bureaucracies in the public institutions, recruitment takes time. And after 3 months of coming out of school or being called to the bar, I couldn't continue to be at home. Besides, I needed the money because serious people out there were working. As a result, I had to follow up on the private law firm. My father had in various ways taught me that before, can you hear me without the mic? You can't. As a result, I had, my father had in various ways taught me that before I embark on any assignment, I need to prepare. The first step under preparation is to ask for God's favor. The second step, I went onto the internet and read everything available on that law firm. And then, on the internet, in a scale of preference, I made my choice of the department I would like to work with. I then looked for a need in the firm that I could satisfy, as well as an interest the firm needed to develop. Then the third step began. That was the action time. Knowing very well that the entrance to that law firm was not accessible, I had no choice but to go there one evening with a carpenter. To do what? To mount a detachable wooden ramp. Mr. Chairman, we had to go there like 8 times. 8 different times in order to work on that wooden ramp. The reason is that the carpenter was new to my way of doing things, and I refused to give up on myself and on the carpenter. But finally, we had it done. Mr. Chairman, I want you to know that on my first visit, on those evenings of ramp mountain, the first person I met was the night security man. I walked up to him, greeted him, and told him that, "Sir, I am coming here tomorrow morning to transact business. And because your premises is not accessible, I need to come here this evening and mount this detachable ramp so that I can access the place." In fact, I don't remember he spoke. Neither did he protest. He was shocked. Whatever accounted for the shock, I don't know, but in fact, I didn't bother to know. And so we worked on the ramp. Other late night workers and some lawyers came by. None of them spoke to us. They ignored us, we also ignored them. But then, when I saw the CEO, whose picture I had seen on the internet passing by, I walked up to him, greeted him, and introduced myself. I told him exactly what I told the security man. But then I added, I need employment in this law firm. And in fact, you are the very person I'm coming here to see tomorrow. So I'm very, very happy to see you. This man replied, I wish I am in charge of employment here. With this your initiative, I will have them organize an interview for you. And you have my recommendation. Oh! Pretty soon, 2 partners came by. And this CEO, who I had seen for the first time that night, gave high recommendation about me to them. Fortunately or unfortunately, the third lawyer who came by was the head of one of the departments I had expressed interest in to work with. So, upon all the recommendations that the CEO gave to this young lawyer asked the CEO, "Sir, how are we going to pay this lady? Since the courts are not accessible, you know that in this law firm, you eat what you grow. So with whose money are we going to pay her?" The CEO turned to me and told me, "Answer him." So I replied humbly, "Well, thank you for your concern." That's what I said. "But I will find solutions and I'll find ways and means of assessing the other flaws. But in the meantime, I will plead with you. Kindly assign cases with the ground floor courts so that I can be working on those cases." Then he turned to the CEO, "CEO, we have no space for her." This infuriated the CEO. He asked him to be innovative. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I am very glad to tell you that something worked for me that night, and that was empathy. The CEO identified with my problem, he understood me, and I got the employment. This is how I became an affiliate lawyer to Minka Premo and Co. Minka Premo is the first institution in Ghana that gave me the shock of my life. The reason is that with all the institutions that I have associated myself with, I have to provide my own ramps, not just provide them, but I have to maintain them. And the most annoying thing is that whenever I build the ramps along the stairs, everyone would like to use the ramp and to avoid the stairs. But when it is breaking down, nobody seems to care. But with this law firm, within 3 months of my stay, they changed the wooden clumsy ramp into a beautiful terrazzo ramp. And so I am very, very proud of them, Minka Premo and Co. at Laboni. For you persons with disabilities, I will encourage you to be very, very perseverant when it comes to employment. In being perseverant, you must be well prepared for the job you are seeking, in the job you are seeking. In your preparation, I will ask you to ask yourselves these questions. Am I ready for this job? In other words, will my disability allow me to be that punctual? Will I fit into that job description? Do I have the needed skills and qualification? Am I sure that is the job I want to do? And then, how much knowledge do I have on that company and the position I am applying for? Ladies and gentlemen, I will encourage you to be bold and to have confidence in yourself, as Uncle Mike has said. Try to be on top of affairs and sound very convincing. Don't be found fumbling and be confused, exhorting your employers, your would-be employers, to consider your disability and find a befitting position for you in their establishment. That can never happen. Remember, and I'm not saying that with any excuse, there is no mercy for the cripple when it comes to this world, and especially with employment. So arm yourself, be perseverant, but again, don't give up. You need to show yourself approved. In other words, what do I have? What kind of skill do you have that the establishment would tap for its progress? All of us, we are supposed to contribute something to the establishment. What do you have to give? Mr. Chairman, the last but not the least, I would like to encourage persons with disabilities to expect the worst at their interviews. Don't be surprised when you are asked provocative questions. You will be surprised that about 80% of the interview questions you'll be asked will border around your difficulties, your disabilities, your challenges, and the things they think you cannot do. Again, be on top of affairs and be very convincing. Before you can be on top of affairs and be very convincing, you should know yourself very well. You should know your disability very well, and you should have solutions to the problems you are likely to face at the establishment. Finally, I put it to each and every one of you here that you all have challenges, one way or the other. Mine is so obvious. It is physical. I had polio when I was 2 years old, and medically, it has left me 95% disabled. But with the help of people like my mother and my family, and with the empathy of the few people I have also come to know, my life has turned around. I am challenging you to learn how to manage your challenges. One of the evil things about challenges is that if you don't manage your challenges very well, it tends to create barriers for you. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I want to encourage each and every one of us here to break barriers and not to create barriers. Whatever your level of disability or challenge, I encourage you that the sky is the limit. If I, a person with disability and with 95% disability, have come this far by the mercies and grace of God, then you, every one of us here, you have no excuse. You can do better. Thank you.
Over here. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you so much. Turn to your left and tell the person there, be bold. Be bold. Be bold. Come to the right now. Be bold. Be bold. So from today onward, we are on the University of Ghana campus. Mr. Festus Aganyesi.
Mr. Chairman, friends, colleagues, All protocols observed. My name is Festus Akwenyezi, a visually impaired person and a former student of the University of Ghana, Uprapo Hall to be precise. Majored in political science and history, like about 2006. And then after completion, since our sister and our mother dwelled much on employment, that is where I will also pick it up from. After my national service at the ICT Center, I stayed on thinking I was going to be employed, but probably God knew why I wasn't employed there. So I left the place and then sat at home for almost 2 years without a job. Tons of applications I have to write. I wouldn't like to mention companies, so I would just leave it at that. You go there and it's like, oh, our facilities cannot support you. Come today, come tomorrow. Irrespective of all the things, the certificates you show to them, they'll tell you, we can't work with you. So one day I sat and said, people are doing radio, people are doing TV. I can talk, irrespective, I can't see. I'll be able to do it, so let me give it a chance. So then I heard one man, I hope you all know him, Tommy Ananforsen. So I approached him, I called him and told him that I want to come and see him in his school. So he said, okay, come, let's talk. Around Laboni, so I have to pick a car from Tema. So I went to his office. The very first time I go to his office, I crashed the door. And I have to tell the door, sorry. You know? And he said, well, I like your confidence. Even though he was a bit skeptical, so let me give you the chance to come to my school. So he gave me the admission letter and everything. Then I started. As a matter of fact, I was the only blind person in the class of about 20. And when it came to public speaking, DJing, look, I could do it and do my mixing and all those things, you know. So instead of taking full school fees from me, he said, no, he's going to take half because he wants me to know that what I'm doing, he's impressed with what I'm doing. Then after my graduation, it became a problem again, going to the bigger world of attachment. You know, you go there with your certificate and your demo. I'm sure the MC know what, you all know what a demo is. That is what you use when you want to do radio or TV. So I got there, they played, oh, but our machines does not have the talking software on it. I said, I don't use the talking software, I use my brains. And that is what I use to DJ. And then they'll tell you how. I say, you don't know, give me the opportunity. Yes, they'll give you the opportunity, you do it, but the next time you call, the person will not pick his phone. So it kept on until one friend of mine at Asare FM had to fight the authorities and they gave me the opportunity. The first time I was in the newsroom and I was producing, I was going on locations to go and report and all those things. Sometimes you fall into gutter, you come with your trousers dirty and all those things, but look, those are the challenges you face, and I think you just use it as weapons to fight back whatever society is using against you. So finally, I did my attachment with Asempa. Then there were things going around. Hey, if anyone be on between so they ganged up against me. Like one day I was there and then my news editor called me and said, look, you are becoming unbecoming. So the best thing is, look, you make maximum use of your attachment period and you should go. And one thing I have learned, the late Dr. Brukum of the history department told me was, don't be intimidated by anybody, you have your certificate. So when he said, go home, I said, after you've not seized my certificate, so I'm going. So I left. He said, you this proud blind person. I said, I'm not proud, but I'm empowered to allow me to go. So I left. And one day I was just there and then I was praying, then God said, go to GBC. So I went to GBC and I asked to see the Director General, then Amprim Dakum. So I went there and said he's traveled to South Africa, so I should come back the next week. I went there and had a chat with him. He said, how did you come here? Let me look at your CV. I saw my CV. I even sent my transcript to him, let him know what I'm capable of doing. He said, look, then and then he called his human resource manager and said, this is my nephew, give him a job to do right now. So then I have to type my letter. Where is the computer I'm going to use? The computer there does not have the voice on it, so I couldn't use it. And I called the secretary and told him, look, I'll dictate my letter for you to type for me. I don't know when I'll come back again, so type the letter. My name is Festus. P.O. Box so and so. Then the lady typed the letter, and then the man signed. Could you believe after 3 days, they asked the man to proceed on leave? That is how God works. And getting to GBC has been a very peculiar task. You fall into gutters. I wouldn't say because the place is not disability friendly, so I'm going home. I want to prove a point to society that I'm capable of doing it. So you fall, you rise, you fall, you rise, until they started seeing my work. And to rise in GBC, especially the public sector, to become a producer is no joke. Even think of it, you blind man who can't see anything. How would you invite your guests? How would you write synopsis? How would you do this? I would say to the glory of God that, look, I'm the producer for the education program on Monday, and look, I do better programming than my senior colleagues. To cut a long story short, I'm sure during our interaction period we will have much time to talk. Don't look down upon yourself. Society is there to suppress you. But I tell you, be as, when we used to, kids, we say kaku, the one that they put the TV into it. When you try suppressing it in water, no matter how you do it, it still comes up. Let them suppress you, but tell yourself, you can never suppress me, because it's only God who can suppress me. Thank you so much, and God richly bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Festus. You've done so well listening to all these people. And I think you deserve a round of applause for yourselves too. We've gotten to that point where you can ask the questions you want to talk about. The problems that you are facing, peculiar, who would like to help you? First 5 people. I'm giving an opportunity to 5 people to ask questions. What do you want to talk about?
And I'm happy that Prof is here. Prof, I'm always... Prof, when is the university going to open a door to students with disability to do all programs, especially those that they can do? Medicine, engineering, call it what? Thank you.
Please, when we were talking, spoke about the fact that parents play a role in why people with disability end up on the street. So I would like to ask Lawyer Esther what Shraj is doing about this, about the fact that parents are causing their disabled students to end up on the street. That's the first one. And the second one is that just yesterday in the evening, I had a chat with my girlfriend. We're talking about, I realized she was a little bit disturbed about my disability, and though she was comfortable, she told me when it comes to her parents, she's a bit shaky whether they would accept me or not. So I want to know if you went through any such problems during the time you wanted to marry, and then what you did about it. Thank you.
I think he spoke with regards to, the swag, the confidence, and whatnot. But I believe that as human as we are, we have various temperaments. Some are sanguine and whatnot. But then I would like to look at it in 2 major forms, in the sense that some are those we call the extroverts and those we call the introverts. So in that case, how do you deal on that personal level to break that boundary and step out? And secondly, the second part of that same question, you are addressing us as a group currently. So how would we be able to look at breaking this boundary, on a collective basis as a group, here on University of Ghana campus? And secondly, I think the question would go to lawyer Miss Jency. I'm not quite sure. I think she spoke so much with regards giving us statistics and whatnot. But what I think, or what I would like her to clarify, since she has, the legal background, is the focus that we have as a country with regards to legislation here in Ghana to ease, life for people with special needs. Thank you very much.
Illustration. We've spoken a lot about barriers, and in my own view, I've identified about 3 barriers: personal barriers, societal barriers, and institutional barriers. I think the personal barriers that is coming from the side of the persons with disability, we have overcome them to some extent. But the institutional barriers are worrying us, and I don't know what we here are doing about it. Let me just add an instance. The first day I came to the University of Ghana and I came to special needs, I was very happy the way Prof handled my issue. He was not there. When they called him, he said he should write a letter quickly. After I've gone through all the processes, my first letter, I was told it was at lecture. I was climbing. I got to a point I had to rest until I got there. In the university, not aware that in that particular class, there was going to be a disabled person, because in the form I did indicate. Now, Madam Esther and other stakeholders, if you look at the cost of educating a disabled child,
Students build on what they have learned right from SSS. You see, if you did science there, if you come here automatically, you'll be allowed to continue with science. I know of some students with physical challenges who are doing biochemistry, and we have some also doing consumer science, which is also a science-related program. But if you go to our SSS, they don't have facilities, especially for the visually impaired, doing mathematics and all the sciences. See, so it's not a problem only related to university. It's a general, it's a nationwide problem that all of us come together to find a solution to. So I think that is what I have as an answer to Lawyer Prempong's question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shraj will not investigate or act on any issue or case unless you lodge a formal complaint. If you think your rights are being violated or they are being abused, kindly walk to any of our offices. And if you feel your parents are not doing what they are supposed to do, walk to Shraj, no matter your age. But Shraj on its own cannot. It will only advise, but there is nothing it can do. Thank you.
So, in a case where these are, we don't even know Shraj exists, what do they do?
Well, every child has a guardian, and we are supposed to be each other's neighbor. If you come across some kids and you happen to know their home, that they have parents, they have families who are ignoring this child, they are not doing what they are supposed to do, you as a good Samaritan, you can come and lodge complaints on their behalf.
I think you can answer the other question on marriage.
On marriage?
Yeah.
Well, I think Mike will do that because he has loads of experience.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Esther. Just to make a clarification, I'm not saying that parents are the causes why the children end up there, but parents also play a part. If we get the socialization right, for instance, myself, and also when I take Esther, we were blessed with parents who did not look at our challenges and who did not consider what society will say, but put us into education. I was into mainstream school at University Primary School, and where we have all forms of children there. And so before I stepped out of that school, I was able to fit into society because I didn't have any problem presenting myself. And to answer the question with relationship, it all started when I was young. Because when I was at University Primary School, like I said, I felt and looked and behaved like one of any other kid. And so even the girls, they all liked me. I didn't have a problem at all. But you see, when I got into university, and I managed to grab, like you grab. One thing that made the difference was the understanding between myself and my wife or my girlfriend then. Because she understood who I was. She didn't see my challenges. She saw who I am. And so when it got to her parents, she presented me as how she sees me. Of course, every parent, it doesn't matter whether you have a challenge or not, every parent would ask some questions or have some issues with regards to the choices we make when it comes to relationship. So every parent would have concern. But it depends on how you prove yourself, you present yourself to the parent. Now when she presented me, initially they had their doubts and questions. But she said something which I love so much. She said, "This man sweeps me off my feet." Can your girlfriend say the same about you to her parents? If she can't say that, then she's not ready to go with you the long while. Because before the parents comes in, students are there. My girlfriend then had roommates who were saying, we've heard this guy you've been working with, you are going out, is it true? You know when people say, is it true? It's not because they like the issue, it's because they want to say something more. And they say, yes, why, do you have a problem? Hey, this guy is like working like this and that, you. But she never cared. Do you understand? She didn't allow those things. She never saw those things at all. She ignored those things. And the only reason she was able to ignore most of all these things was the fact that I never made her feel I was disabled. So if you look at me, when she was in Sabaho and I was in Commonwealth, I would walk all the way from Commonwealth and come and visit her every evening. We'll go all the way to the drama studio to go and study. She used to do drama. I would even go and watch her productions. I walk with her and come back. On Val's Day, most of us, I was talking to some of the students with special needs. And they were telling me, there's no money, so this Val's Day, I don't even think of any Val's Day and girlfriend. You need to do things out of the box, not really expensive things. All I had to do was get a taxi to take us to, the Vice Chancellor's place behind the registry. We used to call that place Accra by night. We sat there in the evening. I had only one bottle of drink and disposable cup, and we were sitting, sipping, and viewing Accra by night. These little things made the difference. She realized that even the able guys, they couldn't do. One of my friends, who was my roommate, he just reached water runabout and shouted, "Hey, tell Akos that I will not disappoint her." Meanwhile, he didn't go there. Those are the things that make the difference. But when you bring the girl to your partner to that level, she has no regrets or worries presenting you to her parents. Now, when you meet the parents, you are not there to prove yourself. Just be who you are, because you can't be anybody better than who you are. And let them see who you can be. Of course, before I even got married, it wasn't easy. We had to go through a lot of things. But like Esther said, learn to manage your disability. Do not let those things take the better of you, but learn to manage it. And I'll answer the question straight away from the gentleman, that he mentioned that we talk of disability in three, he talks of it in three poles: the personal, the social, and institutional. Yes, like I said earlier on, when we talk of the infrastructure, the advocacy for accessibility and all those things comes in as a result of the institutional barriers. which obviously every one of us is advocating every now and then. When you when you listen to the radio, we are talking about it. It is very, 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 very important. It is very, very important. But what fuels the stigma and the discrimination is the attitude. The attitude. The fact is, like for instance, as I mentioned to you when I was in Commonwealth, the only reason when I met a student one day and he said to me that there's a disabled association on campus. Why don't you come? I don't see you. I never knew there was any association. I never knew then. But when the man finished speaking, I said to him, thank you very much. But this time my challenge is me, I'm not disabled. Not because I was arrogant or I didn't want to associate. No. I never saw myself as a disabled. Do you understand? It is by choice. I never saw myself as that. But I went to the association anyway. But when I got there, I realized that the way all the things they were talking about, how one student's example was that she sat on somebody's bed and the person, after she had gotten out, the person took the bed sheet and put it in a bin. You know, that was very bad. Okay? But I was trying to tell them that, yes, these experiences are bad. But don't dwell on these experiences. You know what I got back? What I got back from the association, most of the members, was that you, because everybody likes you on this campus, you don't know what we are talking about. Before I was coming to the campus, did I bring all the students with me from my house? I didn't. I had to break those barriers. And so that is what we are talking about. The structures, the infrastructure, it is important. But ourselves, if we learn to break them, the people would accept that easily. And when people get to know what capabilities are in us, then society will start, like in England. Now they know the worth of the physically challenged person. So wherever you find yourself in England, they have accessible access for everybody, and they have provision for infrastructure for everybody because society now accepts them. So that is not because we are looking at it only from the personal side, but it's all sides. But we are stressing more today on that side.
Thank you very much, Uncle Mike. Let's move to the question on temperament. Temperament. Someone asked, if you are, say, an introvert, how do you manage?
Yes, talking about temperament. You see, I'll go with the words that Esther used, that manage your challenges. Temperament could be a challenge. Don't you think so? It is also a challenge. So you need to manage it. By managing these things, if you realize yourself that you are introvert, what do you have to do to learn to have a bit of humor in you? Learn to be less sensitive. If you are so sensitive, you will always get offended by very little things. And offenses would always cause you to lose something good that you have. You see, I say that there's a couple that were living together. The wife was always angry because the man would squeeze the toothpaste from the top, from the middle, not from the bottom. The woman also likes squeezing the toothpaste from the bottom. Do you understand? And that the woman was always offended. Every time she goes to the bathroom and sees the toothpaste being squeezed at the middle, she gets offended. That thing kept building and building and building. Before long, the marriage wrecked. But if we learn to change ourselves, because most of the times people want other people to change. The woman was hoping the man will change. But if we can change ourselves and accept people, accept behaviors, you know, when you study sociology, it will make you understand that there are individual differences. So when you realize that you are an introvert, start making friends, be less sensitive, and it will help you out of that, and have a bit of humor in you. It would really help you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move to lawyer 20 on the focus of the nation. Where are we going as a country? What is our policy regarding disability in this country?
Thank you. I can see a very bright future for persons with disabilities in Ghana. The reason that now we have adopted the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. And we have our act, the Persons with Disability Act. Though we are still, like some people, or let me say some opinion leaders and pressure groups are trying to get them to legislate instruments that will operationalize the act. But in all of this, at the end of the day, all these acts and legislations are going to unfold a lot of policies that will make our life better than it is today. The problem has to do with government willingness, the will of the government to actually do what it has to do. Thank you.
The future is very bright. That's where
Education. Someone asked the question.
cost of education.
Cost of education. Education is a right, whether you are an able person or a disabled person, whether you are bedridden or you are not bedridden, whether you need help or you don't need help, it's a right. No matter the cost involved, if you take the steps to acquire the education, then the right help must also be given to you. So it's a right that we must all enjoy. Thank you.
Affirmative action bill, which is being worked on at the ministry level, which we want to see how we can push it forward. And one of the issues that we looked at in trying to develop some strategies that we can put into the bill is how persons with disability can, get some kind of benefits in terms of educational opportunities, some opportunities to help in education and health and things like that. So we are working the draft to see how we can push it into the affirmative action bill, and hopefully if it goes through, I think that issue will be addressed. Thank you.
Take down whatever they say. If a deaf child is in such an institution, that deaf child would need an interpreter. The interpreter will listen and then interpret to the deaf child. So when you look at the hearing child and the deaf child, you would see immediately that the deaf child would need an additional structure for him or her to get educated. That also means additional cost. So there's no doubt when you look at it across all the other types of disability, we need to put in certain structures that will facilitate the education of the children. Now these facilities are not going to be paid for by parents. It is the institutions that are supposed to get them in place. So yes, it is educating a person, the cost is shared. And the parents have their responsibilities. So for example, you would not expect the institution to buy the dress for you to wear and come. It is your responsibility, you have to bear that cost. The institution has to provide the facilities, classroom, teachers, and if there's a need for this additional cost, the institution has to do it. But it all boils down on how well the institutions understand what it needs to be done for us to get the proper education. That is something we need to work on. We don't have to take it for granted that everybody knows. We all don't know some of the things we do out of ignorance. But it will require somebody who understands. And understanding this can come from us. We have to make it known. We don't have to sit down for somebody to look at us and say we need this to do for us. We have to make it known too. And we have people in authority in the institutions who understand, then they will do the right things. And I like to cite my hall, for example. He was saying Uncle Mike said he should go to Grapple Hall, and he said he wouldn't go there. Okay. It's good you didn't come. Excuse me. Now, if you look at this hall, when it was built in 1955, when the first cohort of students moved in, they didn't anticipate that people with disability will come in there. So it is very, very unfriendly to us. In the past, students on wheelchairs will have to come, and when they get to the stairs, they are picked up and brought down and all those things. Now, we have seen this not to be right. If we are managers of the institution and we have to provide the facilities for all the students to be able to be educated properly, then we have to do that. So if you go to that hall today, you will notice that they have constructed, ramps all the way from the entrance. You can come in comfortably and go around, navigate all the way out through the southern gate. And this is the type of thing we need in this country.
And mine is in the form of contribution. I was in the same hall, common hall, with Mr. Asare some years back. And my contribution would be on disability person having humor. I must say that Asare is full of humor. And it's true that during his time on campus those days, everyone likes him because you can't intimidate him. And it is on record that he was voted, I can't really remember, as a treasurer or a general secretary during our time. So I know it's difficult, it's challenging, but then having humor and letting things go, I think will be the way to go. So, Mr. Asare, I don't know if I'm permitted to mention your nickname. Yeah, we need to call you Manzo. We are very proud of you. Thank you.
My name is Bukari Abdul Bidus. Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, all the two speakers, they touch much on the issue of breaking the barriers between the disabled and then the able communities, and then challenging the status quo when it comes to the issue of job searching and then job acquisition. But we all know that we live in a society where some people attribute the issue of disability to superstition. So we're talking about the issue of advocacy every and there. And this, I think, is always within the big cities and towns. But when you go to the grassroots, that is the countryside, in the villages, there are some people who still keep their children, who still hide their disabled children in rooms because they don't want them to be seen, because they think that when people see them, it's a disgrace to the family and then to the society. So they try to hide them, and this is mostly related to the villages where there is no access to these public facilities, hearing things, information from the media and all those education. So very often you see that those who beg on the road, as most of them are coming from the villages when they grow up, because they have been cornered in the rooms for a very long time. They have nothing to do. They can't do virtually nothing. So they come to the cities and they find themselves on the road begging. Now my question is, how far has SHRAC gone, or the government gone, educating parents, families, and then the society on the rights of the disabled, and that disability is not associated with superstition? Because seeing the issue and reporting it is not the problem, but the problem is tackling it from the grassroots level. The education to the society is much important than people seeing it and reporting to SHRAC. So how far has SHRAC gone towards educating people on this issue? Thank you.
Special needs, the role they play in the admission of students in the University of Ghana, because I have had a personal experience where after writing certain exams, the bureau that I used was questioned as to whether even the doubts whether I was able to write that. So I want to find out the role of the office. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My question goes to the SHRAC. Regards to your answer you gave to the one who asked question towards your contribution or your steps you are taking against parents who contribute to streetism or persons with disability who are street beggars. The answer was that you need what? A formal complaint. this problem is a social problem. Everybody is aware of this. So this is just a suggestion. Cut the SHRAD in collaboration with Social Welfare and NCCE embark on public education. And because there are some people who are even professors who are swimming in the pools of naivety so far as problems or people with disability are concerned. Example, in my former school where I was, there was a teacher, a physics teacher, who was advising students not to be mingling with students with visual impairment. So I believe if public education is organized day in and day out, all these people will come to the limelight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The employment situation in this country is not getting any better. And how can the disabled be involved in the entrepreneurial process or in creating jobs so that they can as well be found in the job market?
The question goes to our special case. What can we do as a person living with disability to reduce the level of stigmatization in the society? That's my question.
About stigmatization.
No, that was addressed. It was addressed to you.
Okay, thank you very much. When it comes to stigma and discrimination, it's something that we can't take away from society, because stigmatization and discrimination are in different ways. People stigmatize against people because of their tribes. So remember that these things are there. So bear that in mind in the first place. But what you can do so that it will change that stigma is that you yourself need to break the way they see you. Present yourself right. Now, one thing is, look sharp, dress nicely. Nobody cares more about your physical appearance than you should. If you appear nicely, well dressed, it doesn't mean go and spend all your money on expensive clothes, no. But if you look and very nicely and decently dressed and come in, it gives you some confidence, because if I know I'm walking and I know I'm looking good, I feel good. If I know I'm walking and I'm smelling good, I feel good. Do you understand? If that confidence is there, the person coming to approach you with that stigma can't even walk to you. Now, if I get out of my car right now and I went to Peter Pan yesterday, as I got to Peter Pan, I only got out of the car. When I got out of the car, the stereo was playing. The people around, they were nodding their heads to the sound that was coming out of the stereo. Now when I came out and I took my crutches, and with my sunglasses on because the sun was on, I was looking good. The guys were like, but this boy. Now they can't approach me. When I got there, everybody was opening my door. Oh, yeah, hello sir, hello sir. If I had gone there looking shabby, do you think they will say hello sir to me? We went to Obodu FM with the president of your association. When we got there, the presenter looked at that and said, hey, these guys are different type of people with special needs. Is it because they are from the university? That is why they dress so nicely. They're looking too smart. So appearance is one of the things that, perception, appearance is very important. Look good. It doesn't matter that you have whatever challenge you have. Look good, smell good, have nice haircuts, look sharp, and walk with chest high with your confidence up. And when you do that, the stigma will definitely come down.
We heard there's a blind person here who produces every show. They say my name is Bernard, because I make things easier. I send him more stuff. My topics, I virtually do everything. I communicate with him in text and everything. I don't believe you are blind. It's true. So I believe in one thing, that you should brand yourself and add value to yourself. The way you do. You sell yourself in the way you do. So let's all add value. Thank you.
The way you sell yourself is the way you perform. Words of wisdom over there. Let's move to Professor on the role of your office.
Hi, thank you. When it comes to admission, we all know that one should get 6 subjects, 3 core and then 3 electives. Now, depending upon the program that you want to do, you want to offer a social science program, you need your social science studies, your English, and then mathematics. Okay. Then for the core, it depends upon the program that you offer that emphasis. Now, coming specifically to the disabled students, for the visuals, we don't expect them to come in with maths and science. Because we know that the schools for the blind in this country do not offer maths and then science. So we don't use that as a basis. So for the visual impaired, you need your social and then your English, together with your 3 or electives. And here we don't look at the cutoff. You only need a minimum. That is for each of the subjects, you don't have to get less than C6. That is for the visual. Now, for the others, let's say those with mobility problems and then the hearing, we expect them to get their mathematics and then science, also not less than C6, together with the 3 electives as well. Now, what we do is that we rely on the admissions office. They do the shortlisting. After shortlisting, our office is informed. So we organize something like, I don't want to call it an interview panel. Now, this panel is made up of the coordinator of the office. Then we have the director of medical services. Then reps from the admissions office. We do something like interaction. And then we invite the students, those that we shortlist. So we do some sort of interaction to be sure to confirm the level of disability of those who have applied. Then thereafter we issue letters, admission letters, that is through academic affairs. And it doesn't end there. We also work towards their accommodation. So the office, in a way, is helping so far as their admission.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him.
Now, I'm going to use my own experience to illustrate and try to demonstrate so that you may understand it better. When it comes to negative attitudes of people towards persons with disability, it is a culture, it is an attitude that people have developed over a long period of time. You and I know that it is very, very difficult to change the attitudes of adults than children. From what I have seen from Shraj, they are doing their possible best. But because those negative attitudes towards persons with disability has become a culture, an attitude, a way of life, their efforts are not being seen very much. As a result, of late, they have started educating school children. Instead of adults, their target is the school children. Now, why the school children? I'll use what happened to me recently. I have a very good friend. And when I say a good friend, I mean a very good friend. This friend accompanies me on programs. This friend is interested in whatever I'm doing. This friend will give me whatever help and support. This friend will tell others what Esther is doing and how I like her and all that. Then this friend gave birth, and she needed someone to take care of the child. I mean, just a place to keep the child and then the nanny, so that she can go to work. Our houses are very close, and my mother is always in the house. So I advised my friend, oh, since grandma is here, bring your nanny and the child. The first 2 days, for some reasons, I happened to be at home. And so I helped with, taking care of this child. On the 3rd day, the nanny told us she was going to buy something. Then the child was asleep. She did not get to the gate. Then the baby woke up. The baby was lying by my side in my study. And so I lifted the baby and started feeding the baby. I had done that 2 days ago. So what is the harm? This lady came back, saw me feeding the baby, and you won't believe what she did. She came to snatch the baby from me, took the feeding bottle and lifted the bed sheets away. The question is, what happened when the nanny and the child got home? What kind of discussion went on? What did my friend and the nanny discuss? I drew my mother's attention to it. My mother couldn't believe it. I kept quiet. I saw that it was my fight. I am the one who encouraged her to come and leave the baby in the house. Then they changed nanny. The second week, a different person. That day, a day in particular, I happened to be at home. And so my mother said she was going for a walk. That nanny came to tell me she has to go and buy something. And meanwhile, the baby was fast asleep at her back. So I thought it would be prudent for you to walk on the hot sun with the baby. So just come and put the baby here beside me. She said, no. If grandma is not here, I am not leaving the baby in the house. What can I do? I can't be mad with my friend. But it was a very big disappointment to me. I don't know what my friend has been discussing with the nannies, but the 2 nannies who came to my house exhibited the same attitude and the same, more or less, they were following instructions to the latter. There is nothing I can do. I just have to be tolerant. I have to exercise patience, and I have to be very forgiving. But I can say that the work that Shraj and NCCE and all of us are doing here, our generation, may not enjoy the fruits of our labor. But if we are able to target the children, then the disabled population that will come after us may see a better Ghana than what it is today.